Hello, I welcome you back to class. Today's topic promises to be interesting and educative, and it is titled Saul and David as King in Israel. And under this topic, you're going to learn about the birth of Samuel. The Lord called out to Samuel, how Saul was made king, Saul disobeyed God, and Samuel anoints David as king in Israel. All these are what you will learn about today. There lived a man called Elkanah. He had two wives. One was named Hanan and the other was named Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah didn't have any child. Year after year, Elkanah and his family went out from their town to Shiloh. They went there to worship and sacrifice to God. Peninnah teased Hannah to always make her angry. She did it because the Lord had kept Hannah from having children, and this made Hannah sad, and she would cry. Her husband Elkanah would say, "Hannah, why are you crying? Why don't you eat? Why are you so angry and unhappy? Don't I mean more to you than 10 sons?" One time, when they had finished eating and drinking in Shiloh, Hannah stood up. The priest Eli was sitting on a chair by the doorpost of the Lord's house. Hannah was very bitter in her spirit. She sobbed and cried and prayed to the Lord. She made a promise to him. She said, "God, you rule over all. Please see how I am suffering. Have mercy for me. Have mercy on me. Don't forget about me. Please give me a son. And if you do, I will give him back to you. And he will serve you all the days of his life. No razor will touch his head, and he will never cut his hair." As Hannah kept on praying to the Lord, Eli watched her lips. She was praying in her heart. Her lips were moving, but she wasn't making any sound. And so the priest Eli thought Hannah was drunk with wine, and he said to her, "How long will you keep on getting drunk? Get rid of your wine." And Hannah replied, "That is not true, sir. I am a woman who is deeply troubled. I haven't been drinking wine or beer. I was telling the Lord all of my troubles. My pain is so great." And the priest replied and said, "Go in peace. May the God of Israel give you what you have asked him." Not quite long, God heard Hannah's prayers, and she gave birth to a baby boy, and the boy was named Samuel. And Hannah stayed at home with Samuel until he was old enough. And when the boy didn't need her to nurse him anymore, she took him to Shiloh. She took him there even though he was still young. And she brought him into the Lord's house just as she had promised. One night, Eli was lying down in his usual place. His eyes were becoming so weak that he couldn't see very well anymore. Samuel was lying down in the Lord's house. That's where the ark of God was kept. The lamp of God was still burning, and the Lord called out to Samuel. Samuel answered, "Here I am." He ran over to Eli, and he said, "Here I am, sir. You called out to me." But Eli said, "I didn't call you. Go back and lie down." And so Samuel went and laid down. Again, the Lord called out to Samuel. Samuel got up and went to Eli. He said, "Here I am. You called out to me." Eli said, "My son, I didn't call you. Go back and lie down." Samuel didn't know the Lord yet. That's because the Lord still hadn't given him a message. The Lord called out to Samuel for the third time. Samuel got up and went to Eli. He said, "Here I am. You called out to me." It was at that point that Eli realized that it was the Lord that was calling the boy. And so Eli told Samuel, "Go and lie down again. And if that voice calls out to you again, say, 'Speak, Lord, I am listening.'" And so Samuel went and lay down in his place. The Lord came and stood there, and he called out just as he had done the other times, "Samuel, Samuel." And then Samuel replied, "Speak, Lord, I am listening." And the Lord said to Samuel, "Pay attention. I am about to do something terrible in Israel. It will make the ears of everyone who hears about it ring. At that time, I will do everything to Eli and his family that I said I would. I will finish what I have started." I told Eli I would punish his family forever. He knew his sons were sinning against me. He knew they were making fun of me. In spite of that, he failed to stop them. So I took an oath and made a promise to the family of Eli. I said, the sins of Eli's family would never be paid for by bringing sacrifices or offerings. Samuel lay down until morning. Then he opened the doors of the Lord's house. He was afraid to tell Eli about the vision he had received. But Eli called out to him. He said, "Samuel, my son." Samuel answered, "Here I am." "What did the Lord say to you?" Eli asked, "Don't hide anything from me." And so Samuel told him everything that the Lord said. Now you're going to learn about how Saul was made king. A young man called Saul had to help his father to look for their lost donkeys. After looking for a long time without finding them, Saul decided to go back home, but the servant with him said, "There was a man of God who people have a lot of respect for. Everything he says comes true." And he said, "Let's go and see him. Perhaps he will tell us where the donkeys are." And when Samuel saw a man coming towards him, the Lord spoke to him. He said, "He is the man I told you about. His name is Saul, and he will govern my people." Then Samuel took olive oil and poured it on Saul's head. So he anointed him and told him that the Lord has anointed him to be the leader of his people. One day Saul had to go to war against the Amalekites. God told him to destroy everything they captured as they went. But Saul did not obey God. He did not kill the king of the Amalekites, and he also kept some of the best calves. This made God angry, and he was sorry for making Saul king. And so he refused him to be king over Israel any longer because Saul disobeyed him. Saul was still king when God asked Samuel to go to the house of Jesse. He said, "I will show you what to do. You must anoint for me the one I point out to you." Jesse had 7 of his sons walk in front of Samuel. The Lord told Samuel not to consider any of them. "The Lord hasn't chosen any of them," he said to Jesse. And then he asked, "Are these the only sons you have?" Jesse replied, "No. My youngest son David is taking care of the sheep." "Send for him," said Samuel. And so David was sent for, and when he arrived, God told Samuel to anoint him as the next king of Israel. The Lord does not look at what we look like on the outside. He looks at our heart, and our hearts should be pure and truthful like David. Wow, what an interesting class this has been. I hope you learned a lot. I'll see you next time. Bye.